one of the easiest ways of taking your outfit into that new, fresher, finer, more detailed way are accessories. And this video we're going to be talking about the smaller accessories that were popular during the spring-summer 2026 runway shows. This is the only channel that takes all of these little trends and organizes them by a certain theme, saving you tons of time and actually gives you a better understanding of what's going on. Thus, the trends. Not to lose me, make sure to subscribe to my channel and let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Design or Design. My name is Maria, and as I mentioned, this channel is all about runway trend analysis. I take as many videos as I can from the runways, splice them up. Sometimes if the runway does not have a video, I take the photos and I assemble them together in a much more easily digestible way of understanding what's on the runways, whether it's color, prints, hats or sunglasses. I do it all. And today we're going to be talking about the smaller accessories, which are basically like jewelry, but more like costume jewelry, because let's face it, there is not a lot of fashion brands that actually delve into the high jewelry market, but still. I'm gonna start with talking about the bracelets, etc. independently, and then I'm gonna head over into the overarching trends that I'm seeing at the moment, so make sure to watch to the end. Let's head into the first trend, and that's a trend that your grandma was a fan of, and it's the brooches. Brooches have been going strong and appearing on more and more of the runway shows this time around. We've already seen them in a few previous seasons, but it's not slowing down, and I honestly really love this trend. We see several interpretations of this, sometimes wearing it on a scarf. Of course, lots of the regular schmegular ones of just on the outerwear, which is great for fall winter, in case you're wondering. Lots of fabric florals as well as more of the crystal, more of the costume jewelry aspect of it. Lots had a little bit of fringing on them, like a weird tail of some sort, especially on the florals, as if it's a stem of it. Lots of them on the ties, and some of them were pinned to hold a scarf, which I really like that idea, because like scarves are always escaping the styling that I chose for them. Fendi had more of like a fried egg situation. I love an etro. They used it to hold up a wide brim hat that is floppy, so it's not in your face. Dolce & Gabbana in men's show were very big fans of them. They have more of like vintage-esque florals or little portraits. I don't remember the name of this, but if you guys know like those little portrait things on the brooches, let me know down in comments what is the name for that. If they're smaller, having like a pairing of them, maybe 2 or 3. Sometimes it was more natural, like in Chanel, having like voluminous flowers on here, or a little bit more dainty, adding a little bit more texture that is not there with a regular brooch, but really still really interesting. Now let's move on to the earrings. I love earrings and I tend to wear them quite often. And one thing that I've noticed a lot was the asymmetry of the earrings, which is another one of my favorite things. I seem to always see it on the runways, and it comes from year to year. We still see it. And I really love. I feel like it adds an interesting layer to your outfit because it's asymmetric. The eye still wants to look at it and see like why. Shows like even in Schiaparelli, which is quite powerful brand and very luxurious, they still have asymmetry. I actually really rarely wear the same earrings, only when the outfit calls for it, basically. Asymmetric earrings work well when you have asymmetric outfit, or you like to wear your hair on one way, or if you have a little bit of asymmetry in your face. So if you're wearing identical earrings and you have maybe, like, we all have some kind of asymmetry, you guys, but some have more than others. So if you think like maybe your nose is tilted one way, maybe you broke it when you were younger, or you have more of, I don't know, drooping one side, then asymmetry of the earrings would hide it, because when you have something very symmetrical around you, then the eye of people looking at you will try to find that symmetry in your face. If there isn't, it will highlight the fact that you have something a little bit wrong. I don't want to say wrong, because we all have this. And asymmetric earrings are lots of fun, especially for me. Especially if you have this one really heavy earring and then you're like, oh, I can just wear it on one ear and then mix it throughout the day and put it on the other, just because I'm just so tired of this earring. But of course, think about maybe having a little substitute in the other, so nobody's, oh, you've lost an earring, like, let's look for it together. So yeah, there were plenty examples. If you're not a fan of the asymmetry, there are so many examples of them being not asymmetrical, and that's completely fine. Lots of hoops on the runways. Right now we're seeing Givenchy with kind of bedazzled ones with gems and pearls. We also see more just metallic ones, more of the like a natural element to them. Blue Marine here had huge crosses, lots of beadwork as well. I've noticed for some reason this time around lots of beads on the runways, which I didn't really like. Fashion is repetitive. And when I was little, I used to make lots of beaded accessories like earrings, etc. So it takes me back, but I don't know, I feel like I was doing it out of necessity, not because it was stylish. So for me, looking at these, I was like, I can do that. That's not that great. Chloe had a lot of the button earrings and quite like a larger size of them too. I quite like these. This is the exception whenever I'm wearing the identical earrings. These would be it. In Missoni, a little bit more bohemian inspirations. And yeah, you guys, there are some that had a little bit of color to them. And of course, even going from silver to gold, there is this color. I need to understand which color works better with your skin tone. For instance, I am a little bit on a neutral to warm side, so I can wear silvers as I am wearing them right now, but I much prefer golds just because it works a little bit better, especially during the summer months when I get a little bit more tan. Then the gold really makes my appearance look so good. But color-wise as well, think about what colors work together with your skin tone the best, as it is in your portrait zone. And if you're wearing a color that's really good on you, then it's gonna have a big impact. Or having a good color. So silver for the cooler side, the gold for the warmer side, and of course all the colors you just need to understand. Maybe like Google this, ask AI, is this a cooler or warmer tone, and figure out that way. But let's talk about more very interesting earrings. Mugler had really exaggerated huge earrings and I love them so much. I'm not even sure, is it like a net with sparkles? I just want them so much. They're so cool. Schiaparelli had lots of quite impactful hoops earrings. Valentino had really long metallic chains of some sort. And of course, if you're not into the huge earrings, which is fine, like if you have much smaller features, if you're more petite, then go for these smaller earrings. You don't have to just blindly follow the trends or like, oh yes, the huge earrings are here. But when you put them on, you just look out of place. This is the reason. So when you're going smaller for the accessories, think about your complexion. If you have really large eyes, really large lips, like really large everything, then going for a large one will complement your face. If you have smaller features like very tiny lips, very small eyes, then don't go for the huge ones because they will overpower your face. If you have medium features, you can go either or, just depending on the outfit. Sometimes the outfit calls for something more dramatic, while others call for a little bit more subtle-esque versions of the accessories. But anyways, here in Givenchy, we have the square button earrings. Here in Chloe, we have more of a daintier one, either smaller hoops or a little bit of a little rock hanging there, nothing too crazy. Acne Studios here with, once again, more of smaller versions. Chanel had, again, like those large florals as well as smaller florals. Alaya was another big fan of the hoops, and they came in variety of sizes. Maison Margiela had, yeah, they had something for sure, but we'll talk about it in just a little bit. There were some earrings going a little bit more into bohemian. Maybe there's a little bit of fringe. Maybe there is elements of like Eastern influence, like here in Zimmermann, which is more of a bohemian brand, but they were quite significantly larger. Yes. Another trend that I really love that I'm still seeing on the runways is ear cuffs. Yes, as soon as I saw it on the runways beforehand, I was like, I need that. I love it. And I really prefer to wear the asymmetrical way of just having it on one ear, because having it on both, I just feel odd, like I have big ears. But you know what? That trend is trending in Asia. Everybody's getting plastic surgery to make your ears a little bit stand out because it makes you look younger. I don't know about that. I like my ears the way they are, but still, we see the metallics, of course, as well as some more like maybe a plastic versions of different colors, and I quite like that. I might try to find something in red, as it's my signature color. If you're following me on Instagram, I'm like red almost every day. And we see these in outfits very casual and like easygoing, as well as in very elegant outfits, which I think is really amazing to see just the variety and how versatile these are. All right, you guys, let's move on into the bracelet zone. Okay, yes, there are plenty of bracelets on the runways. Usually they are a regular chain on your wrist, or a little bit more than that, or maybe there is a little something hanging off of it, or maybe they are on your upper arms. There is definitely lots of variations of them on the runways, but let's head into the actual themes that I have seen that were more intense than just the regular schmegular things that we are looking at the moment. We see a lot of layering of bracelets. On one hand, on both hands, it doesn't really matter. And they don't have to be identical bracelets. They can be like mixed matched. Like here, this creates a little bit more of a bohemian trend or eclectic trend, mixing different styles together. I quite like this trend, as I don't really want to buy exact copies of a single bracelet. In my opinion, it's a little too much. We also see maybe just a singular bracelets, but worn on one on each hand, or worn them a little bit higher than usual, or wearing it around the guns. I prefer not to, because my guns are not gunning at the moment, so I don't want to attract unnecessary attention to there, so I am fine without it. For some reason, I see lots of silver bracelets, not so many gold. We also see the stylization of them over long sleeves, or sometimes over the gloves, which I love. For spring summer though, like how wearable is this trend? I don't know. Maybe in the southern hemisphere of the planet, that could work. But anyways, oh yeah, here we go. Zimmerman and Chloe had some gold variations in case you're a gold girly. One of the general things that I did notice is the bracelets quite voluminous in nature. They are either plastic that's really chunky, or like here in Chanel, like just really wide. Really interesting idea, but I feel like writing and working with them would be so difficult. We also see lots of stacking of these really chunky bracelets in so many shows, so I probably won't be able to speak throughout the entire thing that I'm showing you guys because there were just so many examples. But even pairing the metal and the plastic or faux rock ones, Brox and Bonga was a big fan of these bracelets. They did usually have quite a lot of symmetry, or sometimes just on one arm, or sometimes they had the exact bracelet stacking on the two arms, which is very interesting and quite heavy on the arms. Another show that I really enjoyed that had a lot of bracelets was the Ashland Spring, and they had a little bit more of structure to their bracelets. So they looked as if they were like cups and they could be worn either way, and usually stacked one arm. I find that very beautiful and gorgeous. Of course, we have some more just regular schmegular, more of a chunkier plastic bracelets, and I like it, I guess. Depends, maybe if you're a really big fan of color, then that's what you should go for. Moschino had the three really large one. Elisabetta Frenchie had the most amazing stacks, pairing the circular ones with more squared off bracelets, giving such a cool impact and just going crazy with them. I would definitely try something like this out, and probably not on both, maybe on my non-dominant hand. I can actually function with my right hand if I need to. Balmain was another big show that had a lot of layered bracelets, and they usually had a particular stack of it, like two the same and then one in the middle that's a little bit different. We also see this in Jean-Paul Gaultier having the enormous bracelets on the upper arm, on the lower arm, here in silver, very exaggerated. Elie Saab had lots of bracelets as well, having a little bit of different thickness to them as well. Some were a little bit more of the, like a Wonder Woman bracelet and then a thicker bracelet underneath. I quite like the pairing of bracelets. I usually have maybe two of them that I go for in gold, and they're an organic shape but made of metal, which I really like at the moment. But I would definitely try something like this out, maybe not to the extent of just not being able to function with these humongous things on my arms, but still quite like it. Need to find some color ones for sure. And you can see here still there are some that work as if it's like a rock or like a piece of ice but in a different color. Laura had a lot of more vintagey items on top of the latex gloves, or even like underneath the glove. The layering is phenomenal. I love it so much. I am so very much inspired by this, and having these vintage, more of a Middle Eastern feel to them. Next one I already mentioned a little bit, and it's the Wonder Woman little shields. Yes, lots of them. Really cool, quite like them. I wonder like how they put them on. Is it, does it open, or is it there a slit that you can just wiggle yourself into? But there are so many shows going from a little bit of bohemian to more of the street style, like here in Courageous. They had these in all the colors that were present in the designs. So silvers, whites, browns, blacks, even like this coral color. Quite like them, especially if they're at the end of a sleeve. For some reason, I just find that so cool. And they were trying to mostly do like a monochromatic story of having the bracelet fit into the whole color of the outfit. And sometimes they had a silver one with that. Yeah. Michael Kors had more of a leather ones on each or separate arms. They're not screaming anything to me. Like, the outfit would look exactly the same if they weren't there, in my opinion. Valentino had more of a vintage one. Shape is like a fan, and Versace also had more of that. And then we have Fendi going into a little bit of a mixture of the voluminous yet not. Maison Margiela had such cool ones. Look at this. It's like the accessories were in iced in the worn. I love it. Anyways, more examples of on a smaller side of that Wonder Woman bracelet. So they're not that thick, they're just quite wide on there. Necklaces. Yes, let's finally get to that. This is gonna be a long video, I'm sorry. I have such difficult time figuring out what not to post. Like, I wanna keep everything because maybe it's the same necklace, but then it's styled differently and it gives you more opportunity to understand, see, and make notes for yourself. Oh, I have this pendant. This is the ways I can rewear it, just from judging from the runways. So the one thing that we see a lot is the pendant, and quite long pendant. So there were some variations of like maybe a chunkier pendant on a short string or a very long one. It depends on what you are wearing, because if the color allows you only to wear something smaller, then that works. If you feel like you can get away with something maybe over top of the color, like for instance I'm wearing right now, it's just under the collar and it's going over top of my outfit, then you can work that as well. Or maybe you have a very deep cleavage and you can wear something on a mid-size to that all works. We see them in a variety of shows and variety of styles, as you can see. Just a little bit of a detail here. Michael Kors had also like bags hanging off of their necks. I'm not sure if that's, they feel like it's way too much. It's too heavy. Sometimes we had more of the smaller things. That's completely fine too. And when we're talking about pendants, they do create this V shape that is quite good for the overall visual aspect of it, because it creates a little bit more length to you because of that V, and I quite like that. Victoria Beckham had the sunglasses, cases around the necks, something that we've already seen a lot of, like little baggies. We see the bolo tie here, and Coach had those little baggies and even layered them together. Like there's a small coin purse and then a small metallic version of it. Maybe it's just a charm, but there were either like little purses or little envelopes that they're really cute. I quite like them. But how many of us have coins in our coin purses at the moment? I know that all of my changes on my desk waiting for one of my children to be like, can I have that? And I'm like, sure. Anyways, we see lots of layering of the pendant with other necklaces as well, which is one of my favorite things to do. Like I am doing this right now, you guys, doing a little bit of that. We see Etro with more of the bohemian one, had also more of that Ralph Lauren with multiple pendants hanging around in the same area. Those need to be like together. They can't be like super separate from each other. We also see it in Versace with very large ones. We also see this in Roberta Cavalli with maybe if the pendant is really long, you could loop it around your neck to make it a little bit shorter. So it creates that layering effect all on its own. We also see some little leather strings. My favorite layering pieces to see on somebody else would be something that is layered from their history. Maybe it's a little bit on the bohemian style when they merge their heirlooms with something they had to have bought while traveling. It adds so much character to the outfit and you just want to look at it and ask questions about it. I really love it. In shows like Gabriella Hearst and Tod's, they had like those little things that you put on baggage. So it's either like a key holder or like a name tag on there. In Gucci, lots of layering. And we also see the smaller ones. Of course, for everything big, you guys, there is always something small, and you don't have to go big. Again, I'm repeating myself. Look for your features, look for what outfit is asking for. Maybe your outfit is already enough and you just need a little bit of dainty accessories to highlight your neck, or to just give that extra little detail that a big one would just overpower. And I quite love it. All right, next one we're going to be talking about is the collar necklaces. I really love the solid ones that were happening in the previous season as well. And I feel like it just adds this really rich quality to it. Of course, we have other ones that a little bit more beaded, maybe they have a little bit more texture to them. Of course, they're there as well. And there are so many styles, you guys. We can't really say this is trendy and that's all. I'm really against it because I don't want to make copies of people. As a stylist, you don't want to just put, oh, this is trending, here we go. Like a stamp, just stamping people in the same clothes. I really want people to see what they love. That's why my videos are so big. And just figure out, oh, I love this necklace. Oh, this is a really interesting outfit that they went with. So here you go. We see lots of them, and sometimes they were in color, sometimes they were more like beaded, sometimes they were very simple, like a string of beads or just a simple chain. They were a lot, and not only for women, for men as well, as you can see here. Casablanca had more of the men's examples here. We also see them in a format that is interesting from Chanel, more of a plastic colors, and it's very interesting. And yeah, I really love this length because you can always wear it with almost any neckline. And for instance, if the necklines ask for something else, like for instance, if it's a V-neck, you can always layer maybe a pendant underneath it, and that already creates that line that will work well. Or maybe you have something hanging off of that collar length, filling that area up. There are also a few of the choker ones, not a lot, but here you go. I want to show you everything that happened on the runways and not just cram this is what you need to wear. That's it, okay? Okay. Mugler was big show that I just loved. Their accessory, Jean Paul Couture with a little snake around there. And I've mentioned beads throughout the video, and here we go. Yeah, lots of just beaded necklace. I don't know what to say about that. Yes, for sure, like pearls in like that is a classic, but having different color ones, like different size ones, like this, I am sure you'll be able to find this at thrift stores because this is the only thing I see in thrift stores. So don't walk, run to the thrift store if you like this, or go into your cupboard with lost and forgotten accessories, and I'm sure you'll be able to find lots of these. My daughter made me so many of these, and I guess I can wear them more often now. Yeah, we see the really large beads as well as the more tinier beads, and yeah, I guess it depends on your style if you want to go all out or if you just really want just that simple little thread of beads that's not going to attract too much attention. Think about whether the colors complement your outfit or not. Maybe it's a statement one like here in Celine. Shows like Anna Sui was really big in these little bit of a DIY necklaces. That is what I see when I look at these. I'm like, I can make that. It's so easy. And yeah. Maybe it's the nostalgia of things that brought this back into the runways. Versace had really long ones that they wore around. They were sometimes layered together, like here in Chanel, more of a longer examples of them. Of course, there were other necklaces that were just long. Vivienne Westwood here was such a dramatic one that I'm like sure I would lose it. And yeah, Lots of layering, again, as I mentioned. My favorite ones were the Mugler again. They had more like a body chain situation. Vivienne Westwood and Balmain also had these layers that almost made up the entire outfit, either just the top or even covering the bottom section. Givenchy was another one with these amazing ones. Where would you wear it? Definitely not the pool, but imagine it over a very slim dress. I feel like that would be so amazing, or underneath a blazer like here in Givenchy. I really love these. Celine had the beadwork, but having layered. Balmain, another one, was much more simpler, much more daintier necklaces layered, like we've seen back 10 years ago. This was very popular. Having like maybe a little cross, maybe like a little something. Gabriella here again with more of this. Yeah, it's pretty nice and nothing's too special. And of course there were really elegant necklaces that were chains, sometimes going a little bit thicker, sometimes going a little bit smaller. And again, look at your face, think about what are proportions of your face, and consider which size will work best for you. For the bigger features, smaller for the smaller, daintier features. And you had kind of a leather, almost like a dog collar situation just around. It's very interesting. And a little bit more of beads from Chanel. And Schiaparelli had something for the back. Like, I'm always forgetting that my outfit isn't always just everything in the front. Something in the back can be interesting. And sometimes you can do that with a necklace, just putting, instead of doing it like this, everything in the front, just put one in the back. I think that would be really cool and elegant. All right, next one up. We have finally reached the rings. This section is a little bit more tricky for me to show just because I find it so difficult to find these clips, just because arms are moving when models are walking. There's very limited information about them on the internet. For some reason, there's not a lot of detailed captions of hands and little details. I'm sorry, but we have to work with what we got, and this is what we got. So for majority of shows, it was either like a one statement ring that models would wear, like here in Michael Kors, it's a really chunky half rock that's on there, and inside of like a metal thing. We also see just simple silver rings, but majority of the shows had either like very vintagey rings, like little stamps, or they had multiple rings on the fingers, having either all fingers in rings or having the three middle fingers. But I find it so uncomfortable wearing rings that are like one after the other because they always get in the way of your movement. So I prefer to have them spread around the entire hand, maybe like one on the thumb and then one on the pointer finger, one on the ring finger, or having something else. Anyways, Blue Marine had like a Edward Scissorhand thing, which was cool, and I was trying to find a photo of it, but I couldn't. Balmain was a big one with the really vintage styled rings all paired on one hand. I quite like it, but again, the usability of things. Maybe on your non-dominant hand that would work fine. Chloe had like maybe two of the kind of statement rings on one hand, which is a little bit more user-friendly. Anyways, you guys, we have reached the section where we're going to be talking about overarching trends that I've noticed for the spring-summer 2026. The first one is the fringe. So we see fringe going, maybe it's the earrings, maybe it's coming off of a brooch, maybe it's the asymmetry of the earrings. Michael Kors had the really long fringed earrings made of leather. We also see Nanushka having, I think this is more of fabric, not quite leather because of its movement. Ferragamo again with that in the earrings, and lots of earrings. I feel like fringe on the earrings is the easiest way of having it. Isabel Marant here with a little florals mixed in there on the little ends, having asymmetry again for the earrings. And yeah, it is fun. I quite love fringe moments, but sometimes they're a little bit limiting if the fringe gets too long. And I know it's a statement, but can you live in it? I don't know. We also see maybe a few strings around the neck, more of the sparkly ones, or on the ears, or on the bracelets. I quite like it. The drama it creates. I think they even had rings like that. Chanel here with a more manageable one. Givenchy had more button ears with some tails hanging off of it. I quite like it. We also see Mugler having more shiny rain happening. For Ferragamo had these crazy bracelets with fringe coming off of them. Sometimes it was the outfit with the fringe and then the bracelets on top, but then sometimes there weren't sleeves, so that's just the fringe. All right, next one up is the natural element. We see lots of references to the real world of nature. And the first one we're looking at is the kind of shells. Yeah, lots of pendants with either an actual shell or maybe the string is made up of little shells. We see them in earrings, like here, oyster, clam things on there. Dress Van Noten, again, with the pendants being just shells on the end. In Ralph Lauren, they had the shape of it, of the shell or the coral, but in silver, Chanel and some other shows had the coral necklaces. Pearls are also part of this, you guys. Pearls are a natural element, and especially if they're imperfect. Sometimes we had tiny little shells that were part of this huge fringe moment. Alma had lots of natural elements in their layering. Vivienne Westwood had bones as the natural element. They're a little bit creepy, but still. Roberta Cavalli and Schiaparelli had rocks. I am so in love with it. We have the pendants, and then we have the kind of the split rocks that were shiny, and Schiaparelli had salt crystals that were lit up from the inside. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And can I have some? The next one is the florals. Of course, spring, summer, florals. We see it everywhere in the print. We see it in the accessories. Lots of earrings, especially made out of those tiny beads. We also see Chloe here with more of just large florals as earrings. Quite a lot of it. Very repetitive. I'm sorry, but the outfits, they were heavily influenced by the 80s. Yes, they were. I quite like them. I really like the floral earrings that I have, and I tend to gravitate towards them a lot, and I'm quite happy with my choice. Anyways, we have more of necklaces with large florals as well. Remember back to the brooches, the Chanel show with the huge floral brooches. We also see them around the neck, just the two florals. Sometimes they were used as just the brooches, the two florals, mimicking some kind of a necklace. We also see more of like organic things around the necklines. Maybe it's the rings, maybe it's the, what else could it be? Lots of things, but in floral format. And here goes Chanel with those huge ones on the ears, and they don't have to be really big, you guys. They don't. Yeah. The next one that I have seen was the Brutalist. Yes, Brutalist is quite an interesting one. So it came from the architectural world into fashion, and it's basically using materials that are very raw. It's either metal, it could be wood, or it could be leather, and having the shape of like really sharp, very, like we had the spiral at the beginning of this section. Here we have more of very sharp things, like here in Alexander McQueen, really large, really mechanical items, I would even say. Quite like this trend. I feel like I would definitely work with something like this. It's really cool, and it would be best for maybe a minimalist style. Maybe it would be great for kind of a grungy style. Here we see in Ferrari more of the kind of like even locks or something mechanical again. And we have seen this trend beforehand with the chains and keys for fall winter, which I feel like is pretty good way of continuing. Next one, complete opposite, is the Louvre Heist. Yes, we see lots of very expensive looking elements on the runways, either huge gems or maybe very delicate looking accessories, like you would think that your great grandmother has stashed them away somewhere from a palace of some sort. We see lots of that in Saint Laurent, having these really gorgeous crosses with pearl drops hanging off of them, and they came in a variety of colors. And yeah, the size of them is huge, but on some of the video I could see that they had this little sneaky little thing behind the ear that actually holds most of the weight, so not adding so much to your earlobes that you're just gonna die. But these are so beautiful, so amazing. I quite like them. We also see them in the pendant format. Sometimes they work almost like a heart shape. Yes, like here we see on worn as a heart and sometimes as earrings. We also see Acne Studios, which was like a juxtaposition between very regular normal outfits but with very elegant and large earrings. We also see this in Givenchy using bigger rocks. They were a little bit on the kind of nuance side of things because they were almost squared off, but still lots of bling, lots of shine bright like a diamond. I had some examples like this as well, more in a now way. Simone Rocha also had these for the hair, the necklaces, the accessories, and etc. Gucci was a big one with these items as if they were coming from a museum or some high jewelry place, like I don't know what place makes these. Blue Marine, again with the crystals and the crosses. Anyways, the next one is the charms. Yes, we see this very delicate and cutesy pie trend going on here. Not too many, but here, the ones that were here are here. We see them usually on the necklaces, but there were some designers that had the bracelets with a few little charms hanging off of them. Very cute. I quite like it. And for spring, summer, I feel like that's just the enough of accessorization to go for it. And we have reached the final one, the face accessorization or the head accessorization. Delara here, again, with inspiration from the Middle Eastern. We also see the Maison Margiela with the 4 little stitches resembling their stitching on of the labels. Really interesting. Schiaparelli had more of the noses and the hair accessories, and Moschino here again with the birds. Generally thinking, for spring, summer, we do have this hotter weather, and sometimes having so much accessories just creates that additional thing that's really hard to live with. So you don't have to go all big. You just need to think what you're going to be comfortable with. Maybe you do want to attract a little bit more attention during these months, or maybe you just want to feel confident with your style. And I'm sure you'll be able to find just what you like in these examples. I would appreciate you to leave in the comments down below an emoji of some type of accessory. That way I'll know that you're cool and that you watched till the end. Another way you can support me and this channel is by liking this video, maybe sharing it with somebody. I am trying to grow, you guys. I want to make this my full-time job, but I'm not getting enough for a full-time money format. So many of you have mentioned doing like a gift, buying me a coffee thing. And I was like, oh, YouTube already has that with the super thing. And if you want to, I would greatly appreciate it, just because there is no sponsor for this video, but I would love it even more if you would share it with somebody. If you want to check out what I'm wearing right now, the full outfit, or what I wear from day to day, then make sure to check out my Instagram, where I do just that. That is my personal style diary. I post a little bit of like trend highlights. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing rest of the day and stay classy. Bye.